Reasonable Miami fans, we knew this was possible. So what now? We talk Miami football, of course, with Cam Underwood from State of the U for the next hour. So dive on in, leave those comments and questions as we break down the Canes, what happened against Bama, what needs to happen against Appalachian State. Cam, how's it going tonight?
Good, good. Sorry, I was just munching on the last little tortilla chip here as I was getting ready. But yeah. Having a good day. Can't complain, really. Excited to be back with you guys. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Be sure you like, subscribe, favorite, tell your friends, all those kind of things. Because we're gonna have fun for the next hour. So let's get to it.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Again, we knew that this was possible in regards to what we saw on Saturday. I don't think either one of us expected that. That would have been probably choice B for me in regards to probabilities, but I was more in the camp of 44-13. I had 42-17, but I was right there, but more of a slow burn, one score game at halftime, and then take it away in the second half. It's got to be disheartening, both from a fan standpoint and in analyzing the game when you've been geared up for this one for quite some time. You knew that was possible, but still you're 6-8 minutes into game time, into the game, and you're already in just a difficult spot.
Yeah. It was definitely tough, not what you want to have. And obviously possible. Alabama's a monster. They're an incredible team. They're a wonderful program. And they're damn good. They're the best around. And you wanted to be more competitive. Again, that's what I was hammering all in the lead up. Obviously I wanted the result to be different as well, but I wanted the ends to be different, but the means as well. The last page of the book, but also the other chapters. I wanted it to be a little different. I wanted to be more competitive. Because as I still, traditionally have the stats pulled up here, if you look at the score, where's scoring plays. Hold on. Drives. There we go. Is it not working anymore? It might not be working for me. Shucks. So I got to get rid of that page, unfortunately. But if I scroll down here, yeah, it got away from Miami really quickly. Is show the scoring plays. There we go. So 12:07 in the game. So 3 minutes into the game, they hit the first touchdown. You had an opportunity to get off the field on that drive, did not. And obviously Miami had to lean on something. You got to kind of pick your poison and go, right? Take one thing away and try to make them do another thing. You hadn't seen Bryce Young in college, so we try to take away the run game because you think that they're going to run more. All the players said that. The coach said, I thought we were going to run more. Again, to Mark's point, when we're talking about Bryce Young being the starter, what'd you say? Coming into spring, Nick Saban was like, no, this is the guy. We're good. And he gave that guy the ball way more than we expected. And you saw that, and he did wonderful things with it. If you looked at the numbers when he was blitzed, he was cool as a cucumber and just dot. And even on that first drive, that was disheartening. But okay, one drive, look, okay, sometimes get hit in the mouth. They had a great script. We'll be okay. You get a couple first downs in the next drive, and where I think things really fell apart was that 3rd and 7, and you run inside zone. And I tweeted it, and I said, oh, no. And that's my favorite. Oh, no. Because if we're doing that now.
I only tweeted one time the entire game, and that's when I tweeted.
That was, I said, this could be a problem because people are not going to like this comparison. I don't care. Mark just had an FSU show. FSU, in their game, went for it. Even though in a couple spots they went for the win and it fell short. You know what I mean? But the desire and intent of that play call, of that decision, was to win. That was not a decision for Miami to win. That was a decision for Miami to be competitive and not get blown out. However, if you are not bold with your decision making against Alabama, you don't have a chance to be competitive. So the best laid plan of cautious conservatism with, selected optimism, in that point, you had to be bold. You had to at least run a play and throw the ball past the sticks. I wanted to see something that there was no chance that was going to, be successful in that spot. And you could tell from the alignment. You could just say, they were like, I know these fools aren't going to run up the middle. What the, man, let's go. All right, coach, let's go. That right there was a really telling decision of, if you think that Derek King at 90%, which is about what he probably is, if he's not really affecting the game in a multiple zone read, potential QB option run situation, it belied so many more things. It was, the stone in the ocean and the ripples that came out. That's what all of that, the multiverse for you Marvel fans. That one really just was, whoa, okay, hold on. Right here is really where you see that. And then, they did what they do. And again, it was that same kind of thing like I talked about before, even though they lost the game. I didn't see this coming, but even though it's like St. Thomas Aquinas in high school, you make one mistake, you get stopped, they come down, they get a turnover, they score, you get stopped again. It was that kind of progression. It ends up being 27-0, and I know the Bama Roll SB Nation site, they were tweeting during the game also. They said, Miami fans can quit crying about calls and everything. There were some really, the refs adjudicated that game very poorly. There were some really big calls that went uncalled on Alabama that would have made the score look more palatable. I'm not saying that we would have won, but there were some major missed calls for their favor. Like pretty much all of them. I think there was one that went Miami's favor, but like all of there were lots of bad calls. And I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. And again, I'm not excusing that for why we lost, but you also got down into the red zone twice and didn't score. You know what I mean? You also had the opportunity to intercept the ball in the end zone. You didn't do it. Also, shout out to, I want to get the handle right. Hopefully it's not too far in the past. 365 Canes Football on Twitter. He did a whole bunch of cut-ups of individual plays. One of them I saw in real time, and I thought was like, no, I saw this, but I got distracted by something else that happened on this play. The second one I missed. The first one was the strip sack fumble. On that play to the far side, the top side of the field with the four receivers, that was a touchdown. Mike Harley undressed Jordan Battle and was double move gone. They're playing cover zero. There's nobody back. Jordan Battle had his heels at 8 yards, flat-footed. Harley hit him with the Harlem Shake and is out of there. And if that ball is thrown at all, it's a touchdown. Like I said, I got distracted from the commentary during the game because that was the strip sack fumble turnover play. So I'm focused then, and my commentary said, 51 DeLon Scaife, you get beat clean, didn't even touch Christopher Allen coming around the corner. I'm focused there. And I was like, I thought I saw it, and I forgot to come back to it because, I'm deriding the performance that was poor. But that's a touchdown play that was called. It was an interesting situation because it was like a first down thing, so it wasn't really like a shot time, which is kind of cool from Rhett Lashlee that he called a play that's a shot play in a non-shot, take a shot up top time. But if that ball is thrown, go back and look it up. If the ball is thrown, it's a touchdown. There was another one that to the bottom of the field on the short side, they ran a post wheel combo with a switch to it. It's one of your favorite plays in the 4-wide, 5-wide NCAA playbook. So outside receiver switches inside, runs a post. Inside receiver switches outside and runs the wheel. That post wheel, a lot of teams will use that combo because you go to the post and then the wheel is wide open. That's exactly what happened. Derek King panicked a little bit, saw some ghosts, why offensive line had been bad, and he threw it like it was a back shoulder. But the wheel, I think it was to Harley, the wheel was open, and if you throw that to the end zone, go get it, that's another touchdown. All of that to say, that's at least 2 shot plays plus 2 other drives that came up empty for Miami. You can't have that and be competitive against Alabama. That's 28 points right there. I know that we lost by 31. And I'm not saying that it all of a sudden would have been 44 to 41, but if you hit 2 of those, now all of a sudden it's 44 to 27. That looks and feels a lot different, right? But it was just there a level factor of 10, whatever you want to call it, better. And, you know, they proved it. Again, you know, Bryce Young shot up the board. He's now the Heisman favorite after his record-setting performance, because no Alabama quarterback had thrown for as many yards or 4 touchdowns in an opener as he did. Miami actually did well against the run. And I know that that sounds crazy from what it looked like early, but Alabama ended up with under 4 yards per carry. So you're swarming, get some tackles for loss. I think we had 11 tackles for loss on the day, only 1 sack. But, you know, you did a little bit better against the run, and that should be at least the one small positive that we can take away, because it was clear by intent that the desire was to be better against the run than other teams have been against Alabama, and that Miami was against North Carolina. So we came out and said, look, we're going to do everything that we can to stop the running game or curtail it as much as we can to control it. And at least seeing that some of that came to fruition has to be the positive that we take away.
So back to that 3rd and 7 call. I'm not debating what you stated about the approach or the mindset. What I don't understand is, okay, it's 3rd and 7. There's a 5%, 8% chance of running that play for a first down against that defense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe De'Ara King is compromised and only 85 or 90%. So he's not the running threat that he normally would be. You do have a veteran quarterback, and it's only 7 yards. It's not 3rd and 17. It's 3rd and 7. Can't you throw a conservative pass where you can trust your quarterback and give a guy in space a chance to break a tackle or drag a guy for 2.5 or 3 yards to get the first down?
Mm-hmm.
For example, to contrast that play call versus in the aforementioned Florida State Notre Dame game, Notre Dame had a 3rd and 17. They ran a screen, perfectly executed. They went for like 40 yards. Mm-hmm. And whomever was doing the game was raving about this play call, which of course it was the proper call to make, and it was very effective. But I was thinking, isn't that the play call that you make on 3rd and 17? Like, I could have made that play call. It's a conservative pass to throw. Unless a D lineman blows up the play, it's not going to get picked off. So you're not going to turn over. You're basically handing the ball to your best player with a convoy. That's the call that you make on 3rd and 17. So I didn't understand necessarily the lauding of that play call.
Well,
but the 3rd and 7, I just don't get. Just to further my point before you take off on this, in terms of trying to minimize the game, minimize the damage, minimize the score, and get out of there, that's more so the call that I would think would have been made if it was 28-7 with 13 or 14 minutes left, and we're just trying to get out of here, and 28-7 doesn't look awful. Let's not make this 42-7.
Right. I will say that I think that the real genius conversation about the play call, the screen in the Notre Dame game, was the fact that Florida State brought pressure from that side, and you want to replace the pressure with the throw, which if you want to see a quarterback replacing the pressure with the throw, go look at what Bryce Young did against Miami, because we blitzed him a whole bunch. And it was like, cool, you're blitzing from there? I'm going to throw the ball right there. You're blitzing from there? Throw the ball right there. And I think that was part of it in that situation. Yeah, it was, and I have a different site pulled up with all of the plays. And yes, that 3rd and 7 derailed it, but 2 plays before that, Zion Nelson had a false start. We get 5 yards on a run on first down, so you're 2nd and 5, and then you get a false start, so it's 2nd and 10. Now you come back with another run after the false start, so now 3 yards on that one. Now it's 3rd and 7, and then you do that. I mean, it's just, and then they walk down didn't walk down the field. It was a long drive, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 play drive, 11 plays, including the field goal. Now it's 10-0, and things like that. But yeah, I just wanted it again to be more competitive. I wanted to see, like, there was a lot of things that didn't connect. Another one, and this can be on Lashlee, it could be on King if he was the one who called it. Why are we going hurry up on 4th and goal for inside with I mean, you don't have Cam Newton back there. You know what I mean? And you do a quarterback sneak from shotgun. So you're on the inch line. You snap it back to the 7 with the guy who's 5'10", 200 pounds ish. And then why, if it were me, whoa, slow the tempo. Because if we're going on, and that's a decision I have no problem with, of going for it on 4th and 1 or inside the 1. No problem with the decision. Terrible play call and execution. But for me, even though it was pretty apparent to the naked eye, I'm lobbying that referee or the line judge and saying, are you sure Don Chaney didn't get in on that 3rd down play? Are you sure? Because he was in the middle of all those bodies. I mean, we can just call. I mean, like, look, I'm just saying. No, I'm not calling it timeout. But I mean, hey, maybe you guys should get together and look at it, right? Now you slow it down. You do that. That's a free timeout. That's a time where you now plan your best play from the inch line. If you think the play that was run from there is the best play, you do that. I, for one, do not think that was the best option play. The best play in the playbook for that situation against this opponent in that spot. I don't think that was that. Speaking of calls that were missed, the next drive that was intentional grounding, he was not outside of the pocket in the end zone. The ball got over the line. He was in the thing that people miss, and even the commentators missed, is the right tackle moved in on the blocking, right? So he's not where he was. He's like, oh, he's outside the right tackle. He's outside where the right tackle ended. He's not outside of the tackle box, which is defined by the outside shoulder of the left tackle and the outside shoulder of the right tackle at the snap. So you have that. And then, again, now you come back after that. Should have been a safety. Very deflated, but it's 3rd and something. So you figure, okay, from the 6-yard line. And then you get a blown coverage, and they hit you up top for 94 yards. Like, you know, it's the little things, man. And all these little details. Again, a lesser team than Alabama hits you for 40 yards, and it's 1st and 10 on the 45-yard line. Jamison Williams hits you for 94 up top. All of a sudden, you change the scoreboard, cue up the band, and I see Manning screaming at the referee, that's on you, that's on you. For one, he's right. But for two, you can't have it shows again the level of talent disparity between Miami and Alabama, because other teams aren't going to hit you for 94 on the blown coverage in that spot, on that blown coverage. And again, Bama boy, I'm not making excuses. You all have a better team, a more well-coached team, because clearly we were not prepared appropriately. Again, this is the thing that I've been saying about Miami. Every time that we come in, I hear from Manny Diaz, well, they did something different than we thought, or they did There's never an accounting for the malleability of another team. But every other team has now already cut us off at the pass of, we're going to do this differently. And they're like, oh, you know what? I've seen this from film on Miami. They're going to do this, and let's prepare for the other thing, and then it's appropriate. I need to see Miami be more well-coached and prepared. So again, I'm not taking anything away from you guys. I believe that you were going to win. I said that you all would win. But if some of these interior details that I'm talking about went differently, to the point that was a few comments ago, if everything that I said in the first part of my little diatribe here went better, then that's probably an additional 20 points for Miami. That could have been it. It could have been. You probably could have had another touchdown for Alabama as well. But even with an additional 20 points, you still win by 2 scores. But for me, on this side of the street, I was looking for a 2-score game to be the level of competition, and that would have been emblematic of potential future growth and performance, a la what Florida State is talking about by not getting their doors blown off, being very competitive with the top 10 team all the way through the game. They're saying, hey, we were this close against Notre Dame. Look at what we can do. Miami doesn't have that ability because we really got blown out pretty badly. So, again, I'm not taking anything away from Alabama. The gold standard in this game and in general. However, I am being pointedly critical about things for Miami that could have been better, that could have portended a better performance for the Canes in other games coming down the line this season.
So my take on response to that, first of all, Bama Boy, we appreciate you being here. You're here on a regular basis for a number of shows. But you understand that if we don't bring our analysis, our opinion, some context to the conversation, then we just put a banner up with a score and walk away. We don't have a conversation. So the reason we're all here is, again, to all give our take on what happened. So we just had our first football game of the season. The score was 44-13. Those aren't excuses that Cam gave. Those are explanations.
Mm-hmm.
And again,
and also, I'm not here saying that any or all of this is like, oh, well, we would have won 44-13 if not for. I'm not going there with it. You know what I mean? But yeah, providing context and then, you know, my view of things for, you know, where I expected things to be and then reacting to what I saw things were.
The other take on comparing Alabama and Notre Dame. So the further the further we go down the list of teams and who we expect them to be, I am no more certain about any team in the country than I am about Alabama, about who they are, how they're coached, how quality of a outfit that they are. I have more confidence in them than anybody in the country that they are exactly who we think they are. There's a ton of teams out there that after week one, they either played over their heads, we will find out, or played a bad game and got that out of the way. That I know less. That I throw. You could throw Boston College out there. If you said today they're going to go 9-3, I wouldn't be surprised. If you said they were going to go 5-7, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised. Meaning the further you go down the list of teams, the more variables there are in terms of how good is this team? Do we really know who they are? So Notre Dame is further down that list than Alabama. Are they still rock solid, really good? Yes. Could they go undefeated against their schedule? They could, probably not. Could they go 9-3? Would that shock anyone? No. They've got a number of teams on their schedule who could beat them. So the loss to Notre Dame was obviously more respectable from a competitive standpoint and on the scoreboard, but Notre Dame, unless something is drastically different than what we think right now, is not the team Alabama is by any stretch.
Agreed.
Best team in the country until proven otherwise. 10th best team in the country, 15th, something like that, probably. And that's disparity has been fairly substantial in recent years.
Yeah.
So, and we will get to the super chat as soon as I find it here in just a second. So whether it be individual players, you did mention one component of the game, meaning rush defense, that played rather well. Brian Robinson got his 5 yards per carry even, but it's respectable, but that's not great on the collegiate level. So, and less than 4 yards per carry as a team. Were there individual standouts in this game?
Yeah. You know, Miami rotates on defense maybe a little bit too much. And I think that we saw some of that because the starting line players played pretty well. Nessa Silvera did get triple teamed. I saw Richard and Rasp, they were going back and forth about that. And people were talking about Nesta. I'm like, you know, triple team, come on. Jared Harrison Hunt, I think, is our best defensive tackle. He needs to be starting, quite honestly. So he played pretty well, especially at the point of attack. Really just, you know, being able to get penetration. Keontre Smith at weak side linebacker, that's a dude, that's a guy. You want to get, you know, 5, 10, 15 pounds of good muscle on him. So he's maybe Sean Spence sized there at that position, with that probably being the archetype that he's trying to design himself to be. You know, but he's a guy, and he flashed on the field repeatedly. Corey Flagg also. at middle linebacker. Now, they were a little bit out of position a couple times, and when the line got their hands on them, the Alabama offensive line got their hands on them. Like, those are small linebackers, so they're going to be, pushed around a little bit. But those two guys, at the linebacker position, played, I thought, pretty well on the whole of the game. The second string linebackers, I wish them well as people, but there have to be other options. I want to see Tyreek Austin Cave. I want to see Avery Huff. I want to see Chase Smith, who, in 2 years, you put 20 or 30 pounds on him, you move him from striker to linebacker, college or high school safety. And that's a dude, that's a guy at that spot. And I would like to see that more. You did get some run support from the rest of the defensive line. Zach McLeod, Chance Williams, who had the only sack in the game for Miami, Jafari Harvey. If you were watching the broadcast and you heard it, because it's in the pronunciation guide of everything, so I've not steered you wrong, because Mrs. Harvey came in my mentions a couple years ago. I'm trying to tell you, Jafari Harvey, also in run support. And then Tyreek Stevenson as a cornerback, big guy, 6 foot, 215, 220 as a corner. And also, hello, welcome to the show, number 24, Cam Kinchins, and number 0, James Williams, in that order, because Kinchins came in first after Bubba Bolden got rightfully and truly ejected for targeting, because that was as textbook as you could get, unfortunately for us. But both of those guys, they showed up pretty well, and especially in the run game. James Williams got downhill quickly and instinctually on a couple of plays. Cam Kinchins obviously was in there before that, filling in for Bolden. He made some good plays in the run defense as well. So those would probably be the individuals. Also, Keontae Smith had some really good tackles. Corey Couch, small though he may be, plays with a big heart, man. He had a really good tackle on Brian Robinson for like only a 4-yard gain that probably would have went for 20 or 25 if not for him. So, yeah, there were individual standouts, and there were also plays you can point to for pretty much all those guys where they got pushed around and maybe a little manhandled. But in general, I would say that, yeah, those would be the guys who stood out. Bryce Young had 1 carry for 8. Roydell Williams had 6 carries for 3. Jason McClellan had 9 carries for 4. 4-yard average for those last two. So that's why, and then you had Robinson and Sanders had over 5 yards per attempt, even though Sanders was really buoyed by the 1 touchdown run against largely second stringers. Now, again, for Bama Boy, that statement is not to say that he doesn't score or that he's, that he doesn't do something positive. But against Miami's second string linebackers and things, it's just not the level of opposition. He's dancing here and there and he's gone. Maybe that's 15 instead of in the end zone. You know what I mean? And those are the differences that I'm talking about there. But yeah, some pretty good individual performances. And again, credit to the scheme employed by Manny Diaz and the defense, because if you know anything and you remember anything from last year, it's the fact that those 2 running backs from North Carolina are still running over, around, and through Miami defenders to this day, right now, today. That's how many yards and how they just eviscerated us. So you come out and say, Alabama has the size and physicality difference and advantage, but we're going to scheme and we're going to play our asses off so that they don't do the same thing that Carolina did in that record-setting bad rushing performance. And to a large extent, you accomplish that. Now, again, pick your poison. You do that and play halfway decent against the run, and then you give up a literal record-setting day to Bryce Young where everybody in America knows his name and now he's the Heisman Trophy favorite. Happens.
Cam Underwood, State of the U. This is our weekly Miami show, Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. This is when we aim to deliver it, but schedules change. Therefore, please subscribe to the channel and certainly hit that bell for the notifications to know when we go live. As we set everybody up for the App State game, they're coming off a 33-19 win over East Carolina in their opener with an ACC familiar quarterback in Chase Bryce. Okay, the question on the board right here is similar to where I was going to take the conversation, because you know what the deal is, Cam. In general, after a game like this, you generally have two camps: the ones that blame the players, or the recruiting to say we're not good enough. We're just not good enough. The players aren't good enough. And then you generally have a camp that says, we've been recruiting great talent. I love these players. We've got talent. They're screwing it up. The coaches can't coach. They either don't develop the players, they don't have a good scheme, they can't adjust, the play calling sucks. It's either a coaching or it's a player issue. Those are the general two camps from most people. So where would you go in terms of the analysis of this game?
6 in one half, half dozen in the other. In one hand, half dozen in the other. Honestly, like there were some clear times when it was just like, it's the X's and O's, because if you go to the same thing over and over again, you try to fit that ball in there, that RPO slant 15 yards down, or, that square in. First drive, second drive, that's a tightly contested completion for Miami. Third quarter, fourth quarter, that's an interception for Alabama, because we went to the same scheme over and over again, right? So it's a little bit of that. And then there's just some times where it's the Jimmies and Joes too. Again, I referenced that 94-yard touchdown. That wasn't schemed up to score. But when you have a cornerback who's nowhere in the screen, when the ball, is completed at the 50-yard line, thrown from the end zone, you run hurry up on 4th and goal from the inch line. And in the way that you don't want it to see, the line of scrimmage goes the wrong way, because their defense loads up and says, cool, you want to play big boy ball? Weight room, little fella. And you're like, okay. And then all of a sudden they're in the backfield, So, and again, shout out to Bryce Young. An incredible performance by an incredibly talented guy. I told you all about his high school stats from, a few weeks ago. You don't have 16,000, 17,000 yards of total offense in high school like he did, whatever the stupid number it was, over the course of 4 years, out the middle of nowhere. You don't even see that in college, you know what I mean, of that kind of production. So an individual player who's really incredible. So it's a little bit of the scheme and it's a little bit of the players. And I talked about 2 touchdown plays before that I think, after having rewatched them and everything, and again, I saw the one live and the other one I had to see when it was reviewed by somebody else on video. Those are touchdowns. But for a bad throwing decision by Eric King on the switch wheel, and a right tackle who still hasn't touched the edge rusher on the other one. Because again, if the one ball is thrown, it's a touchdown. If the other one is thrown in front like it's supposed to be, it's a touchdown. So there's a deficiency on the players on both of those plays, not on the scheme, because guys were open. So you're going to be able to find both. In terms of, again, if you're measuring Miami against Alabama, the gold standard in there, who we played last week, there is a deficiency in talent, especially in terms of depth, because they can rotate players and not lose the level. You can clearly see it in Miami. In certain places, you can rotate players and not lose the level, but at other places, you rotate players and the level is vastly different between the ones and the twos. So there is going to be a measure of that. And especially in the trenches. It's kind of crazy, where Miami was elite on defense, was defensive edge rusher, but you lose Roche, Russo, and Jalen Phillips in the course of a year, basically. And then you go into the game against Alabama, where you probably need to be disruptive in the backfield. You saw what Georgia did to Clemson. You need to, be able to get up the field. You don't really have a dynamic player there to do that. Offensive line, in comparison to Alabama's defensive line, the stats speak for themselves. So, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of both, the talent level and the coaching. Because it's not a single source thing. It's not one play. It's not one choice. It's not one recruiting decision. It's not one anything. There's multiple facets to what happened and what we saw, and hopefully you were able to balance them out so that you can be productive. But a major point that I want to see, especially when you're faced with a comparable or better team across the field, and Bud Elliott, former SB Nation colleague, now at 247 Sports, made the clear point, and I believe to be 100% correct. Miami's Miami's offense is basically we have better skill dudes, and we're just going to kind of be better and create space and be explosive. But that doesn't work when you have a team that's as good as you or better than you on the other side. So what are you going to do to scheme up to mitigate, to change, because you don't have the talent advantage that you will against Duke, against Appalachian State, against Central Connecticut, things like that, where the talent will really just rise to the top. How are you scheming then to give your talent the advantage that they don't naturally have? And that's been a thing that's been missing, and I want to see how we can do that moving forward. And it cannot just be on the 2 plays, or even if we say, okay, we saw or I saw 2 of those plays. Let's call it out of the 62 plays that were run on offense. I think, 63 plays of offense. Let's call it an additional, let's quadruple it and say that's 8 plays, right? That were explosive or potentially explosive and things like that. What are you doing with the other 55 downs? And hopefully we find a way to have more downs, because you just need the football a little bit more, because they had the football more than us as well.
Which leads us into more specifically from Chugmo Beer. Thank you so much for the super chat contribution.
Yes, sir.
This is Rhett Lashlee's 3rd big game. But as we count him up, I think he's going to 4 big. No, it's 3rd big game.
Mm-hmm.
At Miami, he has failed every time. Clemson, North Carolina, now Alabama. All slow starts, very questionable play calling. No more excuses that
He spelled it wrong.
Rhett is overrated. Gotcha.
Yeah. Thank you for the super chat there, Chuck Mo Beer. Again, I think that goes to my last point of, if you are really just going to say, hey, we have better athletes and we can kind of just be our regular selves, but our increased athleticism is going to get us in the end zone, a la last year against Duke, a la last year against Louisville, who, couldn't stop a paper bag from blowing down the field. Sure. But when you're faced with a comparable or better level of talent, the games that he's mentioned, Clemson, North Carolina, now Alabama, what are you doing actively? And it cannot always be, well, you saw I called this one touchdown play and, they didn't throw it right, or I called this touchdown play, but he didn't block. If we have a singular data point to support you, think about, again, all the plays and all the drives and all the things that then are negative based upon what you're saying. You know what I mean? But yeah, I need to see that be better from him as well. I'm not going to say he's overrated per se, but improvements are needed, especially, again, when faced with a comparable level of talent. And that kind of sort of spins forward towards this weekend, which means that, like, Miami has more talent than Appalachian State. Miami went to Boone, North Carolina in 2015 and blew them out 45-10.
16, right? Rick's
16,
first
sorry,
year?
Yeah. That was Brad Kaya's second year. Yes, sorry. So I need to see that happen this year, where if we're going to say our athletes is going to out-athlete you, and that's how we're going to beat you, then I need to see this happen. The line is a touchdown. If you look at the SP Plus, I think that metric by Bill Conley is predicting like a 5 or 6 point game, like 30-24. Yeah. And everything in Appalachian State are a game outfit. They are not a lifeless, moribund, 0-12 team. They won their game last week and everything. But again, for Miami to have the season that they greatly desire, and I believe the schedule sets up to have, first of all, you need to win, period. Because winning a game, any game, is difficult. We all talked about this. We know this. But not only do I need to win, I would like to see a performance that I'm proud of and gives me a reason to project a similar performance moving forward. But that's for me.
So we're here every Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Sometimes we've got to change the schedule. Subscribe, hit the like button, do all those good things to set yourself in a good place. Turn on those notifications because we've got to change the schedule at times. Also, keep in mind, voiceofcollegefootball.com. You can get some Miami gear or whomever you root for. We've got gear right there in our store, voiceofcollegefootball.com. Patreon, you get my picks over on Patreon. We won't necessarily mention how those picks went this past week. They were pretty marginal, not awful, but marginal. And Patreon, my picks, and other media members as well over on Patreon. Continue to support us right here, the Voice of College Football, through the Super Chat. We appreciate those contributions coming in. Also, you can hit us up on Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. I only ask that if you're contributing specifically to this show, that you make note of that. And speaking of which, we just got in a Super Chat. Appreciate that coming in from 247 Canes. Okay. The response to this next game versus App State will weigh very heavily on how I judge our coaching staff this season if we lose this game. Certainly. And I got to say, Cam, I checked out the line earlier in the day. I expected it to be more in the 18 range, not the 8 range. I was a bit surprised by that. App State, of course, a program that before the emergence of Coastal Carolina and Louisiana last year owned the Sun Belt Conference, I think 5 consecutive years, losing only 1 or 2 games those years, 11-2, 12-1 teams that were a couple times ranked inside the top 25, winning their bowl games. And so a quality outfit for what they are, which is a even lower level group of 5 in the MAC Sun Belt range is what they are. But when the talent takes hold, as it did in that 2016 visit, that was what, a 42-13 or something like that.
45-10.
45-10.
Yep. Yeah, obviously, yeah, this is the game that we play this week. I see App State on social media, they're, pushing hashtag beat Miami and, the seminal phrase in coaching. We have the opportunity to go 1-0 this week. Yeah, whatever. I get it. But yeah, no, check back next week because yes, if Miami were to lose this game, there would be a part of this show that would be clippable, that would be some fire and brimstone. If we lose this game, it would not be, I would not be reserving, I would not have any reservation to really light it on fire. It would be napalm. It would really be,
I bet.
This is a game where, again, to have the season that we desire, you got to go out and win this game, and I said 10-2, losing to Alabama. And then going on from there, I said losing a conference game, not a non-conference game, was my projected order of things this year. But no.
I
In
sometimes don't get. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Luke Walker, the Carolina fan. I was like, we what? No, okay, got it.
Yes. The we from the Chapel Hill perspective.
Okay.
I sometimes don't get the Vegas lines, of course, but they know what they're doing. They make all the money. But 8 points, that means they are telling us that Miami is decidedly a better team, but it's not by some great margin. To put that in perspective.
Sorry, let me cut you off really quickly.
Sure.
It opened at 6. It's been bet up to 9.
Okay, it's at 9. Okay, that means people like Miami, which had I seen it at 6, I would have too, and may still do the same thing because, again, I was thinking 17, 18 points.
Yeah. I was thinking about probably 13 and a half. I'm a big half pointer. You guys know from recruiting weekends, I always like to put the half in there.
Oh, yeah. You want to break the tie.
Exactly.
You don't want to walk away with a push. But to put that in perspective, Oregon is recruiting better than anyone in the Pac-12. They're bringing in top 10 classes. They won the Rose Bowl 2 years ago. We know who Oregon is. They're a 14-point underdog at Ohio State. That's a 14-point spread. So anyway,
but I also think that hints back to what Vegas thinks of this coaching staff and the ability of this team in a couple of probably key areas for them. You know,
that they may slop around. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, if you're talking about from where I was, at least at 13 and a half down to 6, that's a touchdown from there. A little bit more than that for you. You know, like 12 points off of what you were maybe thinking. But yeah, you know, you can see, okay, you know, if, and again, just spitballing here, I can see where they're like, okay, cool. Yeah, we're going to take off a touchdown and take off 12, 14 points from what you might think because of, you know, Chase Bryce there, you know, solid coaching staff, you know, veteran team, solid performance in week 1. Miami showed some major deficiencies, you know, in week 1, although it's against the biggest, baddest team in the world, but whatever. And, you know, you kind of do those things to give that, but yeah.
I would get the 8 points on the road. I would get that. And again, I'm no expert at this. I don't do it professionally or anything, but I on a regular basis, if somebody quizzes me, if that's what you want to call it, and says, here are this week's games, give me the lines, I'm usually within 1 point to 2 points on everything. And so 8 points blew me away, it being a home game for Miami. The game that came up, and of course, we'll have a full week to talk about it, so let's not get ahead of ourselves, but I got to say, in seeing what Michigan State did to Northwestern, I suddenly got more interested in the potential matchup, which it's more than potential. It's on the schedule coming up. Just knowing that Miami is more talented, but Michigan State, they're not going to be wowed by any circumstances or setting, and they'll come and they'll be very physical. We know that.
I said it. And when you asked me this summer, I said, which is a sneaky game that maybe you are looking at more than other people, Cam? And I said Michigan State. And I stick with it because I've seen them be physical. I've seen them outperform their roster level. I've seen them coach over their heads. I've seen them come up with these incredible performances in these big moments that we look for and have not had from Miami in recent years. I've seen Michigan State do that over the course of 30-something years, whether it's Michigan, O-State, Penn State, Wisconsin, Purdue, and Drew Brees was there, and they're running through everybody. You look at bowl games, you look at other matchups. I've seen them, you know, circle the wagons, burn the boats, you know, boss up, whatever you want to call it. I've seen that from the Michigan State Spartan football program in a long, you know, over the course of many years. And so, again, just being who I am and where I'm from, that's a game that I've looked to maybe potentially be a little bit more of a stumbling block than other people. And yeah, after that opening, you know, win and that running back from Wake Forest transferred there and looked really, really strong. That's definitely not going to be, I don't think, a 44-13 Miami win, but if it is, I would love it.
Yeah, as soon as I saw Kenneth Walker had transferred from Wake Forest, he's a good back. He did a nice job at Wake Forest. He's no superstar, but he ran for 1,100 yards and 17 TDs in 2 seasons at Wake and tore up Northwestern for 264. So we will get there, but for right now, of course, it's Appalachian State and another super chat coming down. Falconer X, where you been? Good to see you. Thank you so much for the contribution. Miami players did not quit, played all 4 quarters. Miami will run the table and get a rematch with Bama in the national championship game.
From your lips to God's ears, bro. Give me that. Fine. Even if we get blown out in the same way, we win the next 12 weeks in a row. You know what I mean? So 11-1 in the regular season, beat Clemson, I mean, it's going to be Clemson, but beat Clemson in the ACC championship game. So 13, we beat or win the semifinal and get there. Sign me up for that right now. Sign me up for that right now, bro. Yes, sign me up.
we'll sign Falconer X up for a super sticker too. He's always good for one of those. Thank you so much for that, sir. Appreciate that as well. Yeah, Chase Bryce, for you ACC fans, may remember that he stepped in for Trevor Lawrence against Syracuse. It was one of the Syracuse efforts against Clemson when they scared Clemson on Trevor Lawrence's freshman season, the eventual national champion that went undefeated, but had Clemson on the ropes. He came in, he threw a dime on a 4th and 6 that saved the game. They were going to lose the game, give up the ball like a minute left, lost the game, pulled through on that. He has since been to Duke. Didn't have much of a season last year, threw more picks and TDs, and has moved on to App State. Had a nice little 17 for 27 day, couple touchdown passes, no picks, and they got a couple 100-yard rushers coming back from their win against East Carolina. So, well-coached operation. They're going to be in the right places. They're going to fight. They're going to scratch. They're going to claw. There's going to be an obvious athleticism differential that's going to be evident from time to time or frequently, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Anything else, folks? Canes win 45-17. Yeah.
4 touchdowns.
I could certainly see it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to predict that Appalachian State will have 200-yard rushers, but I also was not predicting that Carolina would have 2 200-yard rushers. So, but they're going to try to play that a little bit of ball control. They're going to try to ground and pound a little bit and things like that. So, you got to get off the field on 3rd downs a little bit better, and then just not let another opposing quarterback have a career day against Miami, which is something that I haven't really talked about. I mean, I gave Bryce Young his credit there, but I mean, if you go back over the course of many years, man, we're going back to, 13, 12. Ever since then, first time starting quarterbacks. And I wrote a piece about it in 2015, and it's probably, time for an update 6-7 years on. But man, first time starting quarterbacks are like, guys who haven't really had much experience just come in and tear us apart. And you saw that again last week, and everything. And it's just not, you don't want to have that. And I know that we've seen Chase Bryce. I know that he's not new, but he's new there, right? So he's in a different offense, and that can be enough of a qualifying factor. Who knows? And I just don't want to see that happen either. Let's get up the field. Let's get after this quarterback. If you got to play Chance Williams more to get a little bit of a pass rush, because he looks like the most natural pass rusher that we have right now. If Harvey can unlock some of his pass rushing potential or whatever. We play, maybe some different coverages, obviously change some things up. But, it's really disheartening to see these new guys who are like, I'm not really sure I'm getting my sea legs. And they're just dot all over the field all day long against Miami. I just don't want to, that needs to stop as well. So, Appalachian State is nobody's pushover. They're a team to be respected, at least. And as I always say, respect all opponents and fear none. I didn't fear Alabama going into last week, but they whooped that ass. So hopefully Miami brings a better performance, is more prepared, because the other thing, in addition to first-time or newish starting quarterbacks really having great performances against Miami, I talked about this last week. When is the next time that Miami is going to come out, hit somebody in the mouth 21-0, 24-0, first, second quarter? Last year, Florida State notwithstanding, because they were one of the most atrocious outfits that I've ever seen. But when are we going to be on the good foot, know what they're doing, stop everything that they're doing, do what we do, and add different things, and have them just, I don't know. When are we going to have that performance a la the first half against Notre Dame in 2017 when they got hit by a Mack truck and they didn't know what in the world? Tommy Reese is on the sideline holding his head. He's a freshman looking like a deer in the headlights. You got the girl in the stands plugging her ears because it was so loud in Hard Rock Stadium because we're up 27-0 with 4 minutes left in the second quarter, right? When are we going to see that kind of a performance from Miami again? It's going to be, I don't know when. But more often than not, every week that I'm tweeting and watching, every week that we come back here, well, a little bit of a slow start. It was 14-3, and then a little bit of a slow start. It was, whatever. When are we, as a coaching staff, as a program, going to put that behind us and not have that be the mode of operations, and then go and hit somebody in the mouth and take it to them and score first? And, things like give them the ball, stop them, which we had the opportunity to on a couple of third downs against Alabama and couldn't. Get the ball, go down there and score. When are we going to have that? When was the last time that we saw that? You know what I mean? It's a lot of middling starts for Miami. And then, okay, well, we got to rally at halftime and do these adjustments and try to come back and maybe, extend the lead that's, 14-10 or 13-12 or whatever. Those are the kind of things that I want to see as well. And every week is an opportunity to be better. Every week is a chance to improve. And I know that we need to fight all the way to the end of every game. And I know that winning a game is hard, let alone winning as many games as we believe that we should win this year. But God damn it, I need to see it be different. Tired of it.
That's what the really good teams that compete for championships do a number of times throughout the year. They're not playing competitive football after halftime.
Yeah, hit somebody in the mouth, extend that lead, get some of your young guys a little bit of experience, maybe not the whole second string, but maybe rotate them in and things like that. But you don't have to let somebody stick around. If you see, if you're on a basketball court, you don't have to wait for the defense to get set up to run your offense. There's nobody that go. I just waiting to have our backs against the wall. Why? You know what I mean? Why not? It's us against the world anyway, and it's that for every single team. Nobody really wants you to win. So why don't you come in there and play with that chip on your shoulder? Why does it have to be halftime and you're down 14-10? Hypothetically speaking. You're down 14-10 at halftime against Appalachian State. And then, as a program and a coaching staff, that's the point that you say, hey, let's really look at everything. Let's really dig deep and let's really find a way out of this hole. How about you don't dig the hole? You know what I mean? We got this beautiful green fairway. How about we walk here? How about we go and do this? How about we don't dig the hole that we have to get out of? How about we look and we go forward in a positive way from the beginning? Why don't we have this same kind of fire that you'll see out of a Manny Diaz coach team before halftime, coming out of the tunnel, right? Why don't we ever see that? And we talk about all these great adjustments and things like that. And that's a thing to be proud of because, yes, you need to be able to read the game, how it's going, and develop. But that also speaks to the fact of if you had to change everything at halftime, which has been the case, what are you doing during the week that's been so ill-gotten that now you got to scrap all that to do something different in the second half? These are the things that are frustrating, and I know that it's maybe magnified a little bit against Alabama because they have the talent advantage over Miami that Miami has over most other teams. So again, they're going to extend these things out. They're going to take a play that should have been 20 yards and go 94. They're going to take one that should have been 15 and Trey Sanders gets, R2 skipped, over or R1, sorry, the jump skip cut, and then he gets into the end zone. Those things. But there's other things with this program that I want to see improve. And we saw some of those things come to the fore last week, and then it went the way that it went. And it needs to turn around really quickly because if you let an Appalachian State hang around, we've seen how those games can go, albeit for other teams. They went into Tennessee and won a couple years ago. Luke Scott was talking about they went to Carolina and won a couple years ago. You know what I mean? It's not the exact same team. It's not the exact same personnel and everything. And you don't even need to center it on Appalachian State. Mark, name me another team who's done that. Memphis? Louisiana Tech? They hang around for a little bit and then they beat a big boy?
Sure.
Troy?
LSU.
You let a team like that hang around and you give them enough opportunities and they're going to take advantage of one. How about we don't give them that chance? How about at 7 o'clock at Hard Rock Stadium this weekend on ESPNU, Miami comes out in the first half with a solid showing, is up 17-7 or 23-6. gets the ball in the second half, scores again, extends out that lead, and really shows that there's a clear difference on the field between their team and ours. How about that? Because I would prefer that. But if you let a team like this hang around, I'm telling you, because you see me getting charged up a little bit on the hypothetical. I promise you, if we lose this game, come next week, Wednesday, this is not a show you're going to want to miss, because it's going to be don't let that happen. Go out here and win this game. Don't let that happen. Don't let that happen.
Which leads me right into identifying 230 on the line. If you folks go out there and grab those friends and followers on social media and you get 2 or 3 more in here per person, we bring in 500, 700 people, as we should, right here at the Voice of College Football for our Miami show. And on State of the U right now, what can people find?
All kinds of good stuff, man. We got all kinds of, great stuff. You know, we have pieces going up every day. My boy Juice Kane, JP Juice from 300, he wrote another piece. Finally, he writes about once a month, but hey, you know, it's good content when we get it from him. So he had a nice commentary piece today. Justin Tattavio and Roman Marcianti with X's and O's breakdowns. We have a couple of narrative pieces, other things up there. Obviously, your How to Watch is already up. We got some other things planned through the weekend. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, of course, our biggest piece every week, written by yours truly. Nice game recap, also by yours truly. Florida Power Rankings, ACC Power Rankings, Poll Watch, Recruit Game Recap, which has some really good stuff because Ja'Curry Brown is doing some big numbers. Also, Traquan Fegans from Alabama, the 4-star cornerback, doing some big numbers on the recruiting trail. So you want to keep up with what our recruits are doing, and we're keeping up with it for you here at State of the U. So we got all of that and more. So please come on and check us out on the website, stateoftheu.com, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The State of the U. And my personal Twitter account is at Underwood Sports. And coming up here in about 20 minutes, I'm probably going to start tweeting about the challenge, because that's on at 8 o'clock. And I like to let the DVR go for about half an hour so I don't have any commercials by the time that I watch that. So we have that and more. So please come check us out and fan with us, and it'll be a great time.
See you all next Wednesday, hopefully at 7 o'clock Eastern time. In the meantime, we've got Miami Post after the App State game right here.